Welcome. This is Eagle News. I'm David Oria in Washington. It's May 6th, the first Saturday of the month here in the nation's capital. The week's recap begins with Philippine President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos meeting with President Joe Biden to strengthen the two nations' alliance on several mutual fronts. Rosel Feria has a story.
Described as an attempt to restore traditional relationships and to broaden the alliance between the U.S. and the Philippines, Philippine President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos is here in Washington, D.C. for a series of what the White House calls consequential meetings. President Marcos and his wife Louise were welcomed to the White House by President Biden and First Lady Jill. Marcos is on a 4-day trip following last week's state visit to Washington by South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol and a White House meeting in January between Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. Greeting Marcos in the Oval Office, Biden underlines the ironclad U.S. commitment to defending the country.
The United States also remains ironclad in our commitment to the defense of the Philippines, including the South China Sea, and we're going to continue to support the Philippines' military modernization goals.
Marcos refers to difficult times and says the Philippines find itself in a region with arguably the most complicated geopolitical situation in the world right now.
In the difficult times that we are facing ahead of us, we need to find many ways to strengthen our alliances and our partnership in the face of the new economy that we are facing post-pandemic. Beyond that, there are also the geopolitical issues that have made the region where the Philippines is possibly, arguably, the most complicated geopolitical situation in the world right now. So it is only natural that for the Philippines to look to its sole treaty partner in the world to strengthen and to redefine the relationship that we have and the roles that we play in the face of those rising tensions that we see now around the South China Sea and Asia-Pacific and Indo-Pacific regions.
A senior U.S. official says President Bongbong Marcos' U.S. visit is extremely significant and that this is the first meeting of its kind at this level and intensity in decades between the U.S. and the Philippines. Meanwhile, moments after his White House meeting, President Marcos was welcomed by the Filipino community at the nearby Ritz-Carlton Hotel Ballroom in Washington. People of Filipino heritage from the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area, and even those from as far south as North Carolina and as far north as Manitoba, Canada, made it to the welcome. In his speech, President Marcos says the protection of overseas Filipino workers is one of the administration's priorities.
We are strongly committed to pursue the third pillar of our foreign policy, which is assistance to Filipino nationals. Isa po sa mga hakbang na ating ipinapatupad ang pagtaguyod ng Department of Migrant Workers o DMW, pinangungunahan nga po ng ating kalihim, Secretary Toots Ople ng DMW. Ang layunin po nito ay pagsamahin at palakasin lahat ng ahensya ng gobyerno na may mandatong protektahan at isulong ang karapatan at kapakanan ng ating mga kababayan dito sa Amerika, sa Caribbean at saan mang sulok ng daigdig.
President Marcos says his visit to Washington is for the strengthening of Philippine-U.S. security, defense, and economic, cultural, and people-to-people ties. He says the sacrifice and success of Filipinos in the U.S. make him proud as president.
You are valued members now of American society. Your success here has made us very, very proud back home. I take pride in being your elected president. But more than anything, I am honored to stand among you and say, Filipino ako. Maraming salamat.
Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C., Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
The next day, President Marcos meets with Vice President Kamala Harris in her home for brunch. The meeting underscores expansion of security, economic, and people-to-people ties between the two countries. Arlene Ocampo tells us more.
Behind the trees in back of me is a residence of the U.S. Vice President. Today, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and his wife Louise were hosted here by Vice President Kamala Harris and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff for a brunch.
Marcos and Harris discuss enhancing Philippine security and driving investment to its local communities. The two leaders also look to strengthening the U.S. and Philippines economic partnership. Also discussed is their shared commitment to the rule of law and respect for human rights. Joining Marcos and Harris are Philippine government officials and representatives of the Filipino-American community, including business and civic leaders.
Today is President Marcos' second day of his 4-day U.S. trip as the two nations commit to further strengthen their alliance. In Washington, Arlene Ocampo, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
Meanwhile, President Joe Biden will be visiting Papua New Guinea this May. Echo Ortaleza Quinola has the report.
In May this year, U.S. President Joe Biden will have a bilateral meeting with Papua New Guinea Prime Minister James Marape, as well as the 18 Pacific Island leaders from the Pacific Island Forum. This May marks the visit of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well to Papua New Guinea. Marape says the country is looking forward to witnessing the visit of the leaders of these two global superpowers.
Echo Ortaleza Quinola from Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
In Canada, it was a May Day deal when tens of thousands of federal workers ended their 12-day strike. This after reaching a tentative agreement with the government. Yolanda Espiras tells us more.
After nearly 2 weeks since over 100,000 Canadian government workers began their strike, it was announced May 1st that they have now reached a tentative agreement with the federal government of Canada. The members of the Public Service Alliance of Canada, or PSAC, working for the Treasury Board and Canada Revenue Agency, went on strike on April 19 after unsuccessfully bargaining with the federal government for 2 years for wage increase, improved job security, increased remote work protections, anti-oppression training in the workplace, and protection against privatization. Said to be one of the biggest strikes in Canadian history, thousands of federal workers hit a total of 250 picket lines across Canada, including government buildings and the Parliament Hill. The 12-day strike, which comprised of almost one-third of the federal public service workforce, have resulted to several delays and a complete shutdown of many critical services across the country. A complete cessation of tax season, as well as disruptions to employment insurance, immigration, and passport applications. On May 1st, PSAC announced that they have secured fair compensation and better working conditions for more than 120,000 of their members. Yolanda Espiras, Toronto, Ontario, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Several stories from Thomas I. Likeness today. From erupting cars in Venezuela, to a rescue school for dogs in Mexico, to Kiwis reaching new heights in New Zealand. Here's Correspondent at Large.
And now news and commentary from around the globe. You've heard about restrictions Russia has placed on journalists and the media. Nothing critical about the war in Ukraine, and certainly nothing critical about the Kremlin for that matter. In fact, independent media outlets have been shuttered. A newspaper in neighboring Finland, though, has found a way around the censorship. The newspaper, it's called Helsingin Sanomat, hides its war reporting in a popular computer game that Russian gamers play. The online shooter game is called Counter-Strike. Information on the Ukraine conflict is hidden in a secret room on a custom map. The paper's editor says about 4 million Russians played the game, and he says he hopes at least a few of them will read the paper's reporting. And he says maybe they'll stop for a moment to think about the situation there. He goes on to say that digital tools create a whole new world of possibilities to overcome state censorship. In Venezuela, cars catching on fire have drivers on edge, and corruption at the state-owned oil company is being blamed. So far this year, 26 cars have spontaneously burst into flames, sometimes severely injuring drivers and passengers. Motorists complain about poor quality fuel, but the government oil company says no, that's not the problem. They say gas tank leaks, defective parts, and incorrect handling when refueling, well, that's what's to blame. But mechanics say they can't believe the engine damage they see, and they say that is caused by dirty gasoline with a poor octane rating and additives such as naphtha. Despite having massive reserves of oil in Venezuela, drivers often spend hours in lineups at filling stations because of fuel shortages. Shortages caused by years of mismanagement and corruption. Well, these dogs have jobs, but before they can do them, they have to go to school. This class of four-legged students is learning how to save lives. The training takes place in Mexico's Puebla state. Dogs and their handlers train in mountain scenarios and simulated areas of collapsed structures. In this class, there are 18 dogs. When they aren't working at home in earthquake-prone Mexico, these dogs often find themselves in other parts of the world. Now, you recall that devastating earthquake in Turkey and Syria back in February. Well, some of the search and rescue dogs came from Mexico. The training is ongoing so that both the canines and their human handlers are ready to assist in a real disaster. But you know, the work is risky. In Turkey, a German Shepherd dog from Mexico died while searching for survivors. New Zealand's national bird, the kiwi, is shuffling around the hills of Wellington for the first time in a century. The sight of these flightless birds in the wild has been rare. As a matter of fact, most people have never seen one except in captivity. That's because predators have killed them off in the wild. Conservation officials figure there are only about 70,000 of the birds left in New Zealand. The good news, though, is work to protect them is seeing their numbers rise again. And around Wellington, a concerted effort has been made to control predators. Coupled with a captive breeding program, the birds are now seen around the New Zealand capital. And the first baby panda born in France is getting ready to leave. The animal will be moving to China on July 4th. Wan Meng was born in a French zoo in August of 2017, but the pandemic delayed the animal's transfer to China. Wan Meng will not be released into the wild, but his offspring could be. Prior to his departure, the panda will be placed in quarantine for a month. Then it will travel to Frankfurt, Germany in an air-conditioned van. From there, it will be on a flight to the Chengdu research base of giant panda breeding in China. He won't be alone on the trip. A veterinarian will be with him at all times. I'll be back in 7 days, and in the meantime, I wish you all peace, joy, and happiness in the ensuing week. Thomas I. like this. Correspondent at Large, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
The annual Oral Cancer Awareness Walk Run is back in the DMV. Survivors, families, friends, and those who lost a loved one to the disease come together for a morning of fitness and raising people's awareness. Rose Papaangelis tells us more.
The American Cancer Society says in this year, there is an estimated 54,000 new cases of oral cancer in the U.S. alone. Almost half of that number will not survive longer than 5 years, while many of those who do will suffer long-term complications. Today, we witnessed the community coming together in support of oral cancer patients and survivors, their family and friends. Now, on its 9th year, this walk-run awareness event, held not only here in the DMV region, but in several states across the U.S., was started in 2014 by a family whose son died of oral cancer.
Obviously, Peter's death left a hole in our lives that will never be filled, but he wanted to do something to help people learn about oral cancer because we didn't really know much about oral cancer. And so while he was still ill, he started the plans for this, to plan a 5K to educate people about the science of oral cancer.
You never get over the loss, but it's wonderful to have something that he wanted to start, keep continuing and actually growing on every year too, with regard to the dental community that we're so thankful for here in the DC area, and all his friends that keep coming out. So
the Oral Cancer Foundation, together with Bethesda Chevy Chase Oral Surgery Clinic, encourage all of us to include in our priorities caring for our oral health.
Sometimes they have lumps and bumps. They don't even realize in their mouth that they have possible pre-cancer lesions or cancer lesions. Young, old, it doesn't have any predisposition. Sometimes, we have people who smoke, chewing tobacco, even alcohol is also one of the precancerous cursor for oral cancer. And we want to make sure that people are aware. They know that.
We want to raise awareness specifically for this type of oral cancer because the fastest growing demographic are actually non-smokers. So we all know that oral cancers are very commonly caused by tobacco use and alcohol. But that we're finding now that there's a growing population, more so than any other cancer, that are non-smokers. And so we're trying to raise awareness, get the community to be involved, and so we can help mitigate that and then keep that trend from growing anymore.
For more information about oral cancer, visit oralcancer.org. In Silver Spring, Maryland, Rose Papa Angeles for Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Attendees discover the latest trends at the LA Health and Fitness Expo and explain the wellness benefits that exercise provides to both the body and the mind. In Los Angeles, California, Eva Basaliaje with the report.
The 2023 Health and Fitness Expo at Dodger Stadium opens up for workout enthusiasts and those looking to begin their fitness journey.
I think going in the expo, I'll probably be enticed to buy some of the shirts and stuff. Probably not the bigger ticket items. I feel pretty good about the gear that I have, but certainly excited to try the food and the drinks and some of the kind of health and wellness products that are there. So we'll see. I'm open to whatever they have to offer, but yeah, excited for the merch. Fitness, I think, is important mostly for longevity, I would say, but also just kind of to test your limits, kind of to see what you can do. It's amazing how many people are here, different body types, different abilities, but I think it's really inspiring to be around so many different people that all value movement and fitness, probably for different reasons. For me personally, it's a lot about health and wellness, physical health, but also mental health. And I just like a challenge.
You're going to see the craziest people that do. That's why this environment's so much fun, because you meet people from all around the world, from totally different walks of life that are all here. You've got some amazing sponsors here, that it's really fun to shop around, get some new gear. Fitness, at least in my own experience, has helped me get out of some dark situations mentally, emotionally, even, financially. It just, anytime I'm having a bad day or things are just not going the way I want them to, if I go into the gym or do any sort of physical activity, when I'm done with that, everything in the world seems a little easier. Lighter, I should say that. Everything just seems a little lighter. That's super important in our lives. For human beings, we've got these amazing bodies. We've got to use them for something. And that doesn't mean, not have any more fun or anything like that. But the more you think about it, the worse it gets. You just got to put your feelings aside, get into the gym, get outside, and you'll watch your life starts to change. I mean, it's amazing what it can do.
Families came to check out the latest fitness gear, health aids, and of course, grab some samples. Because what would an expo be without freebies to stuff your bag with? Eva Basaliaje, Los Angeles, California, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Every year, here in the country, the respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, leads to approximately 60,000 to 120,000 hospitalizations. Yearly, there are around 6,000 to 10,000 infected adults 65 years and older who die from it. To combat the virus, the first vaccine against it has been given the thumbs up by the USFDA. Carlo Valdez tells us more.
The first vaccine for respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, has been approved for use here in the United States. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved Arexvy for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by RSV in individuals 60 years of age and older. RSV is a highly contagious virus. It causes infections of the lungs and breathing passages in individuals of all age groups. RSV circulation is seasonal. It typically starts during the fall and peaking in the winter. In older adults, RSV is a common cause of lower respiratory tract disease, which affects the lungs and can cause life-threatening pneumonia and bronchiolitis. The FDA says the approval of a RSV vaccine is an important public health achievement to prevent a life-threatening disease. Carlo Valdez, Union, New Jersey. Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Australian Hannah Green fights through a three-way tie to win the JM Eagle LA Championship. The tournament purse is one of the biggest for the LPGA season, $3 million. In Los Angeles, California, Eva and Alan on EBC Sports International.
The LPGA season wouldn't be the same without the Wilshire Country Club in Los Angeles, California, playing host to the world's most talented female golfers.
And for this round, it's the inaugural JM Eagle LA Championship presented by Plaspro that brings a field of over 140 players competing for a cut of the $3 million purse.
And that's twice the amount from last year's prize.
Hannah Green captured the day's win, but not without being embroiled in a highly contested battle as Aditi Ashok of India and Shi Yulin of China matched Green's 9 under par. The Aussie was forced to fight through tiebreaker playoffs, replaying the 18th hole twice in order to stand alone as a day's champion and winner of the $450,000 payout.
Hannah, Alan Basiaha, Eagle Broadcasting Net 25. You were all vying for first place. Mm-hmm. How does that speak towards the talent in the LPGA?
Yeah, I mean, just look at the top of the leaderboard, the amount of countries, different countries that were up there today. All three of us played really well today, and it's hard because we're friends. So it's like we want to host that trophy, but we also want other people to do well. So I heard those both of them make birdie on 18, and I knew that's what I needed to do. But yeah, it's tough to win out here. The caliber of golf has really improved, even in my 5 years of being on tour.
In the world of sports, top pay goes to top players. And with Walter Wang, chairman and CEO of JM Eagle, committing to a 5-year sponsorship, the thought of some is that should winnings remain consistent, this particular tournament will continue to attract the world's best players.
Regardless, these athletes always bring their A game in the hopes of becoming the elite of their sport and to potentially push prize money in an upward trajectory. Eva Allen, Los Angeles, California, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Good news for Lake Mead in Arizona and Nevada. Thanks to this winter's snow, the lake's water level is expected to rise 33 feet this year, a lot higher than expected. Anna Cui on Down to Earth.
The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation recently released its April 24-month study, and it brings good news to Lake Mead, thanks to the above-average snowpack level and projected runoff in the Colorado River Basin this spring. Lake Mead's elevation is set to rise 33 feet higher than expected, with a projected level of 1,068 feet by the end of the year. According to the report, water flow from Lake Powell to Lake Mead will be increased to up to 9.5 million acre-feet, and that is up from 7 million acre-feet as previously planned. Due to severe drought conditions for the past several years, water managers have had to make adjustments to the monthly releases from Glen Canyon Dam, which holds back water from the Colorado River, forming Lake Powell. These adjustments kept Lake Powell from dropping to a critical low and also affected the amount of water that would typically flow downstream to Lake Mead. As of this report, the water level at Lake Mead is at 1,050 feet, still about 179 feet below capacity. Reclamation Commissioner Camille Kalimlim-Tuton said this winter's snowpack is promising and provides the opportunity to help replenish Lakes Mead and Powell in the near term. But she also said that the reality is that drought conditions in the Colorado River Basin have been more than 2 decades in the making. The average snowpack in the upper Colorado Basin is around 137% as of this report. In Las Vegas and Akui, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
Communities in Papua New Guinea joined the nation's celebration of International Dance Day. Witnessing the events is our very own Echo Ortaleza Quinola. Here's Oceania at a glance.
Papua New Guinea is one with the world in celebrating the International Dance Day. Residents from the Moresby South, Northeast, Northwest, and the Motu Koita community joined the International Dance Day celebration in the National Capital District. The day starts with an early morning walk and exercise from Sir Hubert Murray to Ella Beach, Aracone. Dance troupes from different schools and communities perform and entertain the crowd. Papua New Guinea's Agent ex-creative director Miss Ellen Misibere speaks about the theme of this year, dancing, a way to communicate with the world.
Every country, every culture, they have their own dances, and it's what unites us. And of course, it's because it's become an institution where people now do it as a living. Therefore, it's important. It's like technology itself. You always have to advance yourself by, being versatile in what you do, but also being unique to yourself. And that's the challenge, and that's the beauty about dance. It's always fresh.
The National Capital District Commission Governor Poe Esparco concludes the event by campaigning to the citizens to hone their talents.
For me, I would like to see this, platform be taken to another level. I want to see if all the schools can have a dance competition, whether it's traditional dancing or contemporary dancing or fusion of both traditional, contemporary, kind style, hip hop or whatever you got. Nowadays, you got young people are walking kind. We must have time for recreation, entertainment, creativeness, kind of thing. Loosen up.
They might just represent Papua New Guinea to international competitions someday.
It's a way of expressing ourselves, and sometimes you tell stories through dances. I'm not a dancer, but I really like the message behind it, and our young people can take it into the future. And I'm confident that dancing will pick up. I see a lot of dance groups nowadays.
Dance has been a very, very important thing in my life. Brings me away from trouble, stress. And I'm a dancer. I've been dancing for almost 20 years now. Dance means a lot to everyone in Port Moresby, and I think around the world too, because it has a voice for everyone.
Echo Ortaleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
It's vacation time for a lot of us. If you want ideas on where to take your family this year, here are some tips from our friends from across the region. Bernadette Ranguini on What Do You Think?
It's that time of the year when they say summer is just around the corner. Currently, it is spring season here in North America, when many start making plans for the summer. Some start vacationing now. So we've asked around for some travel recommendations. What are some great vacation spots to try here in North America, or maybe even outside of the United States and Canada? Let's hear what they have to say.
Okay, so for some vacation spots in North America, some that I can think of include in Canada, you got Vancouver, you got Calgary, you got Toronto, you got Montreal, maybe even some of the maritime provinces as well. And in the United States, you got obviously you got New York, you got LA, maybe even Seattle, maybe even Las Vegas. You've got even like Miami and maybe Dallas and Honolulu. And down over at Mexico, you got Cancun and Mexico City.
My favorite vacation spot in the summer with my family is definitely beating the heat and going to the coast, enjoying playing on the beaches and in Windsor.
A great place that you can go on vacation is the city of Toronto. We have so many different places that you can visit, like the Royal Ontario Museum, Ripley's Aquarium, and if you're looking for a thrill-seeking ride, you can go to Canada's Wonderland. Let's not forget that in the year of 2022, the UN and the BBC claimed that Toronto is the most diverse and multicultural city in the world. That means we have a lot of great foods that you can eat.
And there you have it. We've heard from our friends today, and we hope this helps you plan for a vacation for this summer. The past few years have been challenging, so if the opportunity arises, take a break and go on a vacation. Spend some quality time with yourself and with your family. Bernadette Regini, Virginia Beach, USA, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
It's chow time. Today, Aika Era shares with us her recipe for eggplant pitas with spicy mango sauce. Put on your aprons and let's go behind the counter.
Hey, I'm Aika, and welcome back to Behind the Counter, where we see easy and tasty meals be brought to life. This week's dish is gonna spice up your life. Let's take a look at this eggplant pita with spicy mango sauce. Check back here for full recipes, and if there's a dish that you'd like to see, let us know in the comments below. Catch us on EagleNewsLive.com, on our Eagle News YouTube channel, and our Facebook page. Check back next time when we go Behind the Counter.
Before we let you go, here's our photo of the week. This photo, by Joanne Soriano, was taken outside Buckingham Palace several hours before King Charles III's coronation this weekend. Thank you all for joining us again. If there are stories or topics you want us to share with you, just comment below. View, like, share our other shows. City Limits with Alan Basalyahe. Connected with Dr. David. Take a seat and join us with Anna Kui. Plate Date with Mike Hudson and Friends. Plus, Journey, Stories of Filipinos Abroad with Kathleen Cruz. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Eagle News Live. I'm David Oria. We live in extraordinary times. Stay happy and healthy, everyone.